Hello and thanks for watching Best Maths Tutors. This time we're going through the Edexcel Foundation paper from November 2018 and this is paper 1. In this first question we've got to put these decimals in order. So to do that we've got to understand what the column the number is in represents. So in the first one we've got 0.4, but we can see that the 4 is actually 4/10, whereas in the second one we've got 0.02 and the 2 represents 2/100ths. So we can see that the 2 there, the 0.02, is actually much less than the 0.4. We can see if we compare the next one, 0.37, that's 3/10 and 7/100ths. The next one is 1/10, 5/100ths, and then the next column there, the 2, is actually 2/1000ths. So it's getting smaller the further we get away from the decimal point. And the last number is 2/10 again, because we're in the tenths column with that 2. So we can see the smallest one of these is actually 0.02 because that's only 2/100ths. So we can write that first, 0.02. The next one, we can see these have all got numbers in the tenths column, but we've got 4/10, 3/10, 1/10 and 2/10. So the smallest number next is actually the 0.152. The next one, comparing them, so of the numbers remaining, we've got the 0.37, the 0.4 and the 0.2. So we've got 4/10, 3/10 and 2/10 if we look in the tenths column. So we can see the next one is 0.2. Now we're comparing the 0.4 and the 0.37. We've got 3/10 for the 0.37 and we've got 4/10 for the 0.4. So that means the next one out of those is actually the 0.37, and then finally we're left with the 0.4. So the 0.4 is the biggest of all these numbers. Now moving on to question 2, 0.6 as a percentage. All we need to do for any decimal is take the decimal point and move it 2 places to the right. So we've got 0.6. If we move it 2 places to the right, so 1, 2, and to do that we've got to have a 0 for it to move over. We can see that we've got 60. So in question 3, we've got a list of numbers, and we've got from the list we've got to write down a factor of 10. So a factor is a number that will divide into 10. So in other words, we can see that any number that's bigger than 10 can't divide into 10. So we could get rid of all of these. And if we look at the numbers that's smaller than 10, we can see that only 5 would divide into 10 with no remainder. So 5 is the factor of 10. If we look at question 4 now, so we've got to write 7829 to the nearest 1000. So we need to know that the 7 is the number that's in the thousands column, and we need to look at the next digit. So because the 8 is 5 or more, then that means we have to add 1 on to the 7 in the thousands column. So we get 8,000. So question 5 is actually a Bidmas question. So we have to do the order of operations in the correct order. So Bidmas, if I write those letters down, each one of those letters stands for something. So the first one stands for brackets, the second one stands for indices, then we've got divide, multiply, add and subtract. And so we start at the top and we work our way down. So you can see the first, starting at the top there, the first thing that we've got to do is actually do the multiplication. So 3 times 5 is 15, and then we have to add 7 to it, and that will give us 22. So that's that first part. The next part, 2 to the power 3, that's actually in indices, but so the only operation that we're doing in this one. So 2 to the power 3 actually means multiply 2 by itself 3 times. So we've got 2 times 2 is 4, and if we times that by 2 again, we get 8. So that's that one. And now we've got another Bidmas question, so we've got to put brackets in this statement to make it true. So for example, if we put a bracket around the 7 and the 2, that would mean we would multiply 7 by 2 first of all to get 14 and add 3, and we can see that 14 plus 3 makes 17, which isn't what we want because we want it to add to we want it to make 35. So in fact, if we put a bracket around the 2 and the 3, that would mean, because brackets appears at the top, that would mean that we'd actually have to add the bracket first. We'd do what's inside the bracket first of all. So we can keep the 7 as it is, and then 2 plus 3 makes 5. So, and we can see that 7 times 5 does make 35. So that is the correct position for the brackets. If we now move on to question 6, so this is a little bit more of a word problem. So what we've got is Sue has 2 cats, and each cat eats a quarter of a tin of cat food every day. So if she buys 8 tins of cat food, has she bought enough to feed her cats for 14 days? So what I might do then is work out how many tins of cat food she will need for 14 days. So you can see that each day, if she's got 2 cats and they each eat a quarter of a tin, then each day we're going to eat 2 times 1/4 of a tin. So 2 times a quarter is actually a half. So 2 quarters do make a half. And then because we're trying to feed them for 14 days, so if we feed them half a tin every day for 14 days, that's going to give us a total of a half times 14. Well, if we take a half of 14, that's 7. So the cats need 7 tins for the 14 days, but she's bought 8 tins, so actually since she's got 8 tins, she has enough tins. So we will be continuing to cover all the questions on this paper, and if you find this helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel and giving our video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.